In February 2005, Maurice and Joanna went again to Rajahmundry, this time for the opening of the new Bible College. At Barratt Ministries, so many people have generously donated towards Project India, and we've been able to complete the whole ground floor of the Bible College. And as soon as that ground floor was completed, the students moved in to begin to attend the Bible school. The upper floor is not finished yet, but they just want to take advantage of the building straight away.
Johnny and I were really excited about going to India this time, because for years we'd been raising funds to build a Bible school, and now it was completed, at least the Bible school part. I found it a great privilege to be able to pray for the students, to cut the ribbon, to officially open the Bible school. It was a highlight of the visit.
Although the ground floor of the Bible College has been completed, we're now looking for funds to complete the first floor, which will be devoted to accommodation for all of these students. Every one of these students is a very poor person. This is a poor part of India. There are many untouchables from the lowest Hindu caste. They can't afford accommodation for themselves. Part of the function of the Bible College has to be that they're accommodated as well as that they have space to be taught. So £7,000 is what we need to finish this first floor accommodation for the students. Would you consider helping us to complete this stage of the project and enable these students to live in this Bible College?
It was a great experience for me going to India. I sing when Maurice preaches, so I have a ringside seat of all the people's faces when he's talking. And I was captivated by them. You know, these people are so desperate to serve God. They don't know the Bibles at all, and they're taking notes avidly. I remember one story that Maurice was telling them about a lord who was owed a great amount of money, great debt, by somebody who served him. And the man just didn't have any money to pay. And when the Lord was demanding the money from him, the servant said to him, "Lord, please, just give me time, and I'll pay everything that I owe." And the Lord said to him, "It's okay." He had compassion on him, and he forgave him everything. Now at this point, the people didn't know the end of the story, and their faces were beaming because they imagined that God was saying to them, "It's all right, it doesn't matter what you owe me, I'll forgive you everything." But then Maurice went on to say that this man who'd been forgiven went out, and he saw somebody in the street who owed him a small debt, and he grabbed him by the throat, and he was shaking him and said, "You owe me money." And this man said exactly the same as this other servant and said, "Look, I just don't have the money to pay. I'll pay you everything I owe. Just give me time." But he refused. He was very hard, and he cast him into prison. Some of the other man's servants, the Lord's servants, went back to the Lord and told him what had happened. And the Lord was so angry that he went out and grabbed this man and he cast him into prison, and he made him stay there until all his debt was paid. And I was looking round at the congregation and seeing these people. There were about 120 men, 60 women. And the faces changed. They just couldn't believe it, that God would do this. That because they didn't forgive, that God would refuse to forgive them. And the Sermon on the Mount was really making sense to them. God was really challenging them with discipleship. While we were there, we heard an amazing testimony. This lady had a very sad story to tell. Since becoming a Christian, she'd had a lot of persecution from her family, and she decided she just couldn't take it any longer. There was a lake just next to the plantation where the buffaloes used to go and swim, and she decided that she was going to take her life there, she was going to drown. But she came along to one of the meetings and she heard Maurice preach on God's purpose, God's process, where he was explaining about trials and tribulation. And she was so encouraged with what she heard that she decided to rededicate her life to God. We couldn't understand what she was saying. Samuel had to translate her testimony to us. But we were delighted to hear it and we prayed with her. Pastor Jay Kumar has trained a number of pastors. He's trained over 40. And while we were there, we went to the house of one of these pastors he'd trained. He took us up some stairs, and on the roof of his building, that's where he's erecting his church. Already there were some steel structures there, and we had a prayer with him. I was amazed to see how much progress had been made on the school since the last time we were there. When we were there the first time, there were a few children, but now they had 60 children attending the school, and 30 of these were orphans, all coming from Hindu families. We had a look round the dormitories and we saw all the little beds lined up. And I had a look at the lockers where the children's possessions were, opened a couple of them to see what was inside. And I was amazed because there was only 1 or 2 items there, maybe a bar of soap, bit of toothpaste, toothbrush. Sometimes they had a change of clothes, but often they didn't. And that was all these children possessed. But you know, these kids were happy because somebody had taken them in and loved them.
The hunger of the pastors and the students in the Bible College in India for the Word of God, for the teaching, for literature is enormous. Here at Barratt Ministries in England, we've been so blessed that we're able to produce booklets with desktop publishing facilities, computers, laser printers. We're able to produce booklets ourselves at a very cheap cost. And we realised that for a couple of £1,000 we could equip the Bible College with a room dedicated to desktop publishing, to publishing and printing, literature in the Telugu language. Over 60 million people in India speak the language of Telugu in Andhra Pradesh. But there's very, very little Christian literature. For just a couple of £1,000 we could equip the Bible College with computers, desktop laser printers to be able to get a tremendous amount of Telugu literature out to the Christian population.